Hi, everybody. Welcome. I'm so glad you're here today. I have a really great friend, James Currie from Great Plains Conservation with us today. And I would love to introduce you to the world of Africa with Great Plains and a little bit about our friend, James Currie. Hi, and welcome. Thank you.
Hi, Ralph. Hello, everybody, and thanks for joining us. It's a great pleasure to work with Ralph, and he's been a great supporter of our camps at Great Plains. So, thank you so much for inviting me on, Ralph.
Oh, great. I'm excited. I love your product very much. I can't wait for everyone to learn about you.
Great stuff. So, just to give you a brief introduction to me, I am the head of sales for the Americas for Great Plains Conservation. We are a luxury ecotourism safari operator in Africa that's been operating for 16 years. And we own and operate 14 camps across the continent. I have spent much of my adult life in the safari industry. I started off as a guide working in South Africa and then went to do some non-profit work in the safari industry, which is equally as important, if not more important, than the ecotourism commercial side of the business. And I did that, and I ran an organization called Africa Foundation for about 4 years. And then I ended up going back into the sales side of the business. So I've worked in the guiding side, the nonprofit side, and now the sales side of the industry. So Great Plains Conservation started off 16 years ago. Our owners are world-renowned National Geographic videographers, Derek and Beverly Joubert. They have won multiple Emmys for their incredible productions on wildlife across the continent of Africa, most of which have been filmed at our camps in Africa. So there are some very fantastic, iconic movies like Relentless Enemies. There's a lot of, he did a movie recently, Derek and Beverly, called Way of the Cheetah, which was filmed in Kenya. There's a very famous movie called Eye of the Leopard as well, which featured an incredible leopard in Botswana. So they featured these incredible animals at these amazing camps across the continent. Just to tell you a little bit about us, we are as much a non-profit organization as we are a for-profit organization. We have a foundation called the Great Plains Foundation, which is a very important facet of our business, so that whenever guests travel with us, they know that their tourism dollars are going into these vitally important projects across the continent of Africa. None of the shareholders of our business take a dividend. Everything gets plowed back into conservation. And that is such an important component of the work that we do.
I think that is so impressive. I think that's one of my favorite reasons why we work together.
Yeah, thank you so much, Ralph. Yeah, we pride ourselves in this, and we like our guests to, when they come stay with us, maybe get an insight into some of the conservation and community development work that we are doing across the continent. For example, Project Ranger. This was an amazing project that was started just as the COVID-19 pandemic hit Africa. And Derek and Beverly realized that there was going to be a huge problem with poaching across the continent of Africa. As tourism withdrew from these incredible wildlife areas, there was nobody left to protect this wildlife. And so we embarked on this initiative called Project Ranger. We raised well over $1 million now for Project Ranger, which was really there to support rangers and anti-poaching units in the field to keep their presence in those areas where tourism had withdrawn, to make sure that they were safeguarding Africa's wildlife and Africa's wilderness areas. And this project is still continuing to this day.
Amazing.
Another great initiative, which was started by Derek and Beverly when they were with National Geographic, is the Big Cats Initiative. And through this project, we've funded multiple nonprofits on the ground in countries like Botswana, Kenya, and Zimbabwe to take care of big cats. A lot of people might not realize this, but if you go on a safari in Africa, you more than likely are going to see lions. It's one of the animals that you are probably can be almost be guaranteed to see when you're on safari. But very few people realize that the population of African lions has been cut in half just in the last 25 years. And so there are there are only about 20,000 lions across the African continent today. And it's these kind of tragedies that have been happening right before our very eyes that has spearheaded us to start the Big Cats Initiative, which takes care of lions, leopards, and cheetah across the continent of Africa. A couple of other things that we're involved with, as important as the wildlife themselves, are the communities that live in marginalized areas in Africa, especially in areas where there are high densities of wildlife. And we get involved in community development in all the areas in which we operate. It's important to realize that in most cases, we are the tenants and our communities are the landlords of the camps that you come to visit in Africa. And so we really need to give back to these communities and ensure that they have a very strong conservation ethic as well. And so we do an amazing project in Oldonyo called the Maasai Olympics, which encourages local Maasai warriors to stop killing lions, which is a traditional practice, and rather to focus on an Olympic Games where the winners get an entry into the New York Marathon. It's very popular and it happens every 2 years at our camp. The student conservation camps across all our regions are so important for getting kids involved in conservation. And then we're doing a lot of projects with women's empowerment and getting women in marginalized communities involved in the conservation process. Here's an example of our Solar Mamas project, which takes place in Botswana. And this is incredible. We send a group of community identified women leaders in their communities, and we send them across to India to learn how to do solar projects in their communities. And they're given sort of starter kits, etc., and are able to ensure that their kids are now able to study under electric or solar light versus by candlelight, which is very bad for your eyes, of course. And so it really is an incredible project, multifaceted, and utilizing solar technology in remote communities to ensure that communities have access to electricity. That's enough about our foundation work. Let's get on to our camps across Africa. And this is our footprint across Africa. We've got multiple camps in Kenya, Botswana, and Zimbabwe. And I'm going to start off with the Botswana region. And I'd just like to show you the difference between our two categories of camps, because we have reserve level camps, which are all members of the Relais and Chateau hotel group. So we have to adhere to certain standards there. And you're looking at, 5-star plus camps in that reserve level category. And then we also have explorer level camps in each area in which we operate. And these explorer level camps, the rooms are a lot smaller. They might not have private plunge pools, but they certainly have the same level of service, the same incredible wildlife opportunities in each region. So it's really nice for us as a company to be able to offer a sort of high budget offering and then also offer a sort of 4-star offering for the safari goer as well. Just to highlight, in Botswana, we are very lucky in that we have the rights to a concession here, which I'm marking now on the screen, which is an incredibly unique ecosystem because it links the famed Okavango Delta, which is over here, with the Linyanti ecosystem in the northeast of the country. And we have access to this entire concession here with 4 camps on this particular concession: Zarafa, Selinda, Selinda Explorers, and Okavango Explorers Camp. Now, Zarafa and Selinda would be the reserve level Relais and Chateau properties, and Selinda Explorers and Okavango Explorers would be the explorer level camps. Likewise, in the Okavango Delta proper, we have 2 fantastic camps, an explorer level camp called Duba Explorers and a reserve level camp called Duba Plains. I'm going to quickly show you what the reserve level looks like. This is Selinda in the Selinda concession, which I just referenced on that map previously. And this is what one of the reserve level camps look like. Selinda is majestic. It's situated on the Sibianja Lagoon, which is this big body of water that comes from that spillway that I showed you on that map right into that Linyanti ecosystem. It's a fantastic camp with A lot of focus on leather, wood, Persian carpets, canvas. And it is really light, bright, airy, everything open to the elements. So when you come into the main area, and this is the main area over here, you're looking out across this magnificent floodplain and the Sibyanja Lagoon. There's a lot of water, and you can have elephants walking across. We sometimes have lions actually walking on the boardwalk from the boat ramp up onto the camp. So it really is a beautiful camp, lots of open air. This is that boardwalk I was just talking about. We have a boat ramp over here. That's the main guest area. And quite often we have lions actually climbing up into this boardwalk, and they don't like to walk through the water. So they'll walk all the way along this boardwalk and then disappear into the bush around the camp. There's another example of that open air feel with the high vaulted ceilings, the thatch, the wood, the Persian carpets, and the leather. Really beautiful Zanzibari type doors and Zanzibari type furniture as well, which really accent the property and make it look spectacular. If you come to the camp by road, you can either arrive by boat from the airstrip, or you can arrive by game drive vehicle from the airstrip. And if you're coming by game drive vehicle, this is the other side of that guest area, and you're coming up these stairs, and we've got these life-size bronzes, which I think would take probably 10 or 15 men to carry these. They're absolutely huge. Those tusks on those elephants are about 10 foot long, in reference to the super tusker elephants that were found across Africa, but now, unfortunately, are very hard to find. And it really is just a reminder to us on what we've done to elephants. Our owners, Derek and Beverly, are huge fans of elephants. They did a movie called Soul of the Elephant, which featured the demise of the African elephant, and celebrated its continued existence in a place like Botswana. Another shot of the guest area looking across onto that boat ramp. And then one of the features of this camp, and it's what we like to do at almost all of our reserve level camps, certainly all of them in Botswana, is we like to feature interactive dining. So guests would have the option at least one night during their stay to have this interactive dining set up where the chef actually cooks right in front of you and cooks a 6-plate small meal, each with a wine pairing. And most guests actually don't even sit down at the table like this, but they all stand up here right next to the interactive kitchen. And you talk to the chef and you learn about his or her culinary influences, why he or she is preparing this particular meal for you, talks about perhaps some local influences in his cuisine and what he's preparing for you. And then the wine sommelier will tell you exactly why we're pairing this particular wine with this particular small plate. At Great Plains, we place equal emphasis on gluten-free, vegetarian, and vegan options, as we do with our meat options as well. So if you have any sort of vegan or gluten-free needs, at all our camps, you are very well taken care of. It's not an afterthought, but it's an equal offering to the meat offering that we do every night. There's an example of that interactive kitchen. As I said, most guests actually stand behind here, and you're watching everything prepared in plain sight in front of you. Here's a shot of one of the rooms to show you what a Relais and Chateau reserve level room looks like. Again, that you'll see those high Zanzibari doors. Yes, it's a canvas tinted experience, but the Zanzibari doors, they're these like permanent structures on the canvas, which make it look really refined. You've got this big outside open area. Each room has a private plunge pool looking out onto the plains, and it's not unusual to have an elephant come in the middle of the day and drink his fill from your plunge pool while you're sitting there with a gin and tonic. So it really is a spectacular big open area outside on your deck, and then these beautiful bedrooms inside. And at each one of our camps, the reserve level properties, we also have a 2-bedroom suite, which is set aside generally from the rest of the camp, with its own private entrance, its private game ranger, private butler, and private chef. And it's these two-bedroom villas that are perfect for a family or a group of friends traveling together. And basically, what happens here is you've got the 2 ensuite bedrooms with the joint guest area in between, with a lounge and an outside area, and then with a pool and then you've got these 2 ensuite bedrooms on either side. This is looking through into one of the bedrooms, looking through into the bathrooms. Signature style at Great Plains Properties is to have our copper baths. We like to say that we were the ones that started this trend of copper baths in safari camps, but every single bath, more important than the copper itself, is its view, looking out onto the floodplain so that you can really feel as though you're part of the wilderness while you're having a bathing experience. And that's to show you the common guest area between the 2 suites. So you'll have 1 bedroom over here on this side with an ensuite bathroom, 1 bedroom over here with an ensuite bathroom, and this big guest area with your dining room table, your plunge pool, and a place for you all to sit and accumulate. And now I'm going to show you what a explorer's level camp looks like in Botswana. As I mentioned to you, same level of service. The rooms are smaller. They still are ensuite with plumbed hot and cold water. They're still lovely. The rooms are just smaller. They don't have private plunge pools. And I would say there's a little bit less of an attention to detail in the culinary offering. So, for example, you won't have 3 salad options for lunch. You'll have 2 salad options for lunch. But the food is still absolutely delicious and still prepared by the same head chef that runs all our culinary operations in the country. There's an example of what a explorer's tent looks like. As I said, a lot smaller, but still very sophisticated and beautiful. And you've got a little writing desk over there. You've got some of these vintage safari trunks to put gear in, if you like. And then you've got your ensuite bathroom at the back of the tent. The guest area, slightly smaller than the guest areas in the reserve level camps, but very beautiful. And that is our swimming pool for the entire lodge. And there's a great story behind this one, in that Derek, our owner, was on eBay messing around one day, and he saw that there was a World War II safari truck for sale in the UK. And he thought, oh, this would be lovely. I don't know what I'm going to do with it, but I'm going to buy it anyway. And he bought this safari truck, thought he'd probably use it as a vehicle that he could drive in around Johannesburg, South Africa. And somebody on our team said, Derek, why don't we convert the back of that truck into a swimming pool? And he said, oh my gosh, that would be an amazing idea for one of our camps. And he went back to the owner who he'd bought it from, and he said, well, I'd love to buy this truck, but now how do I get it to Africa? So he said, well, the truck drives. And so it's a World War II army truck that drives. So I'll drive it to the shipping port in the UK, and then we'll ship it across to Namibia. And from Namibia, you can drive it across to Botswana. So the work that went into this swimming pool at Dube Explorers Camp in Botswana, there's a whole story about this. It went on a container ship to Namibia. It was then driven multiple days from Namibia all the way through to Botswana, where it was retrofitted into a swimming pool and then driven into our camp at Dube Explorers. So we haven't got to the stage yet where we'll take you on a game drive in the middle of the day from the swimming pool. So it's a permanent piece. But the swimming pool does actually move on the back of that army truck. But it's a great hit with all the guests, especially kids that come into the Dube Explorers Camp. We offer great Makoro, which are these dugout canoe rides from camp at Dube Explorers, excellent walking opportunities. So when you go on safari, it's not just about the game drives that you do twice a day, but it's also about all the other activities that you can do. You can be as active or as inactive as you choose when you're on safari. Excellent wildlife in all of our Botswana camps. You're going to get up close and personal with African wild dogs, leopards, lion, elephant, lots of buffalo. It's really spectacular. Moving on to Kenya, and we have 5 camps in Kenya, soon to be 7 camps, because we're going to be opening up another camp just around in this area in a place called Lake Natron. And we're also going to be opening up another camp in the Masai Mara. But currently, 4 camps in the Masai Mara and 1 camp in a place called the Chulu Hills, which is very close to some of the largest national parks in Africa, Tsavo East and Tsavo West national parks. Old Donyo Lodge is one of my favorites. In fact, if you look at the backdrop behind Ralph there, that is actually the view of Kilimanjaro from the rooms at Old Donyo Lodge. It's one of my favorite camps in Africa. I'm sure Ralph he's been there personally, so he can give you
Yeah,
some
I've been
personal
there a couple of
insights.
times, and I've been there before Great Plains took it over and after, and I'm excited to see what you guys are doing with your enhancements on it now. But it's one of my absolute favorites. I think it's very special.
Great. So, Ralph, you'll be interested to know then that this sunken hide, which is such a hit at Old Donyo, below the lodge, is where you can view elephants at ground level, and you're looking up at these elephants. And on the right day, when it's clear, you've got Mount Kilimanjaro beautifully positioned behind these magnificent elephants that come down to drink at the watering hole. That particular hide, Ralph, we're now doubling in size. So we've pulled it out. We've put a double wide container there, and our guests will now actually be able to sleep out in this hide at
That's
night.
going to be so amazing. I love that, especially
It's
since at
amazing.
night we heard so much when we were up at the fire and we wanted to be down there.
Right.
That's really going to be special. But I know the afternoon I was there, we had like an hour with nothing, and then 12 bull elephants came and were knocking ivory and pushing each other and playing, and they didn't care we were there, and it was really special. I loved it.
Absolutely. And what makes it even more special is that these bulls, there's actually two of them currently, are two of the last 20 super tusker elephants on Earth. And super tusker elephants are elephants which have at least one tusk heavier than 100 pounds a side. So when
Mm.
I showed you those beautiful images of those
Yeah.
bronze statues, that is how those bull elephants look like. There's one called 1 ton, which I may have an image of here, and you'll see just
Is his name
how
really 1 ton? Although I think we're frozen. Oh, we were frozen. Could you repeat that?
I said his name is 1 ton, but it's such a misnomer because he's got to be closer to 6 tons
Oh, I
versus
love
one.
it. I love
So I'm
it.
not sure how you got that name. But Old Donyo is spectacular. This is, you've got these massive hills behind you. You've got Kilimanjaro in the background. It is a place like no other in Africa. And it's a place where, strangely enough, I think it has the longest sunsets of any safari destination I've ever been to, and so many
And they're
different
stunning, absolutely stunning.
stunning sunsets and so many different color hues. It starts off with the normal traditional blood red African sky, but it lasts for up to an hour, sometimes longer, and you'll get these beautiful pink and purple hues in the evening, just like this photograph is showing you after the sun has gone down. Really is a magnificent part of the world.
Very
And
special.
it doesn't have the highest density of wildlife like the Masai Mara does, but what it lacks for in densities of wildlife, it makes up for in these unique wildlife experiences.
I
So
also thought when we were there during the green season, I thought it was stunning and beautiful. And we had the opportunity to ride bikes out on the plains, which I thought was amazing.
absolutely, and that's what makes it so beautiful. This is a view of this sunken hide. So you've got all these different options. Instead of just going on a game drive, you can actually relax down here, have a glass of wine. Our
With the
wait
elephants.
Yeah, we'll prepare a lunch for you down here, and you can have a lunch down at the hide as well. And as well as the sunken hide, we've also got an above ground hide there. So there's an example of a lunch setup at the above ground hide. You've got a big elephant coming in to drink at the watering hole. Just amazing.
When we were there having lunch, I have to tell you, it was like they were invited. They knew it was time to come. I don't know. It just felt like our family was coming to dine with us. They were pulling up the grass and playing in the water, and it was really nice.
Yeah, yeah. And this is a view from that high. What I was talking about, you get these incredible photographs of these magnificent elephants with Kilimanjaro behind them in the distance. That actually is the elephant I was referencing, that big elephant
One
called
ton.
1 ton. That's him over there. And this one tusk basically touches the ground,
Wow.
and it weighs about 115 pounds. So he is a true super tusker. He's a very popular visitor to the watering hole. And we have a full riding school at Old Donyo. So you can go out, and we've got all the equipment you need, and you can go ride out and see wildlife from horseback, which is just phenomenal. You do have to be an average to accomplished rider. We don't obviously allow beginners out into the African bush for obvious reasons, if you lose control of your horse. But we have full amazing stables. We've got 16 South African bush horses, which are these incredible horses that take you out. We've got everything you need, from jodhpurs to riding boots, helmets, etc., all at the stables. And then this is what Ralph did when he went there. The mountain biking option at Old Donyo is just incredible. There's another view of 1 ton. Look at the size of this elephant. And then this is Old Donyo in the green season. You referenced the green season, Ralph.
Yeah, spectacular.
It turns into this, it looks like the emerald mountains of Ireland. You wouldn't even think you're in Africa. It's just so magnificently beautiful. And you've got, big herds of giraffe out there. We've got great walking from the lodge. You can go up to the volcanic tubes. They are currently closed, but we do plan to reopen them because a portion of these tubes actually collapsed during the heavy rains. But it is a stunning opportunity to go and see the volcanic and geological amazing structures of the Old Donyo area. This is the view from the lodge looking down on that watering hole where the hide is. The rooms are absolutely amazing, all with glass doors surrounded by glass and all looking out on Mount Kilimanjaro. And every room has a sleep out on top of the room. Did you do that, Ralph, when you were there?
We had some light rain during the green season, but I did it the time before my very first trip. And honestly, like, I went in the middle of the night because we had hyenas and I didn't know how close they were. And I was I was nervous, and they were barking and yelling and they were laughing. They were being hyenas. And it was over 20 years ago. So I was a little nervous, but yes, I did it.
Awesome, awesome. So each one of the rooms really beautifully appointed, ensuite bathrooms. This is slightly different from the camps elsewhere in that it's not a tented camp, but it's a permanent structure. It's only one of our camps that is actually a permanent structure versus a canvas camp. And then it's got a lounge, it's got a private plunge pool looking out, and then it's got the sleep out up top, where you basically got stairs going up above your room, and you can sleep out underneath the stars. And if you get cold at night or you get scared by the hyenas, like Ralph, you can just go back down into your room, no worries. And then the Masai Mara, as I mentioned, we've got 4 camps there, soon to be 5 camps. And I thought I'd just take you through a reserve level property and an expedition level property so that you can see. This is one of our flagships. It's called Mara Plains. You arrive in this car park and you go across this beautiful bridge into the camp over the Nchatichak River, filled with crocodiles and hippopotamus. And you go across here and you look out onto these magnificent plains of
They're
the Masai.
gorgeous. It was so stunning. It was such an amazing welcome. Just the walk alone from the bridge across the river and then out into the Masai Mara was just phenomenal.
And then that's the view you're looking at when you come into camp. And it's so beautiful because you've got this juxtaposition between the riverine forest and the open plains. So you've got the lodge situated in the riverine forest, but then you're looking out onto these wide expanses with literally a single tree standing in the distance. Really spectacular views. And this is the main guest area. Similar theme to our Botswana camps, with a lot of focus on canvas, leather, Persian carpets, and wood. We have a full spa, so you can get spa treatments at Mara Plains. And the rooms are absolutely stunning.
They're massive. That was one of the largest rooms I've ever been in, James.
They're huge rooms, absolutely huge, with massive decks. We've got Zimbabwean teak railway sleepers on the outside, and then on the inside, the same wood, but it's polished on the inside and it's left bare on the outside of the deck. But the rooms are absolutely massive, really stunning, with a copper bath, with a shower as well. And you can go and have a private dinner on your deck. And a lot of the rooms are actually looking down onto the river. So you've got
Now,
hippo.
we overlooked the hippos and we loved them.
Yeah.
And so we had a lot of activity when we were there, which we loved very much. So it was quite nice to see baboons come down to the water and a croc hide underneath, get very close, and how the hippos playing and talking and snorting and wallowing. It was really fun.
Yeah, amazing. And then we have a honeymoon suite as well. So this is surrounded, it has its own separate entrance and own separate bridge, and it's surrounded on three sides by water, but it feels as though it's on an island. So when guests stay there, they actually think they're on an island because they're going across the bridge, and you're surrounded on all sides by water. And then Mara Expedition, just to show you the difference between reserve and explorer. I love this little camp. It's a 5-roomed camp with a family suite which has 2 bedrooms in it, and it's a lovely camp for guests. This is the guest area, simple yet very refined. We have a little bistro which is so popular with the kids. At any time of the day, kids can go up there and ask for a hamburger or a hot dog or anything, and the chefs will just prepare it for them in this little bistro. It's actually separate from our main kitchen, and it's just something that we keep open for guests throughout the day in case they get hungry. It's a lovely touch. The rooms, like all our explorer camps, simple yet really beautiful inside. Lovely appointed rooms, small, no private plunge pools, but we do have the same army truck style pool at this particular camp that we have in Botswana. And then I'd like to just close off by referencing our third country in which we operate, which is Zimbabwe. And we have a fantastic reserve level camp called Tembo Plains in the magnificent Mana Pools National Park, but in a private reserve surrounded by the park. Really is a spectacular camp right on the lower Zambezi River, with massive herds of elephant crossing to and fro, wild dogs, lions. We've got leopard around camp at the moment. That's the camp in the background with the elephants crossing across from Zambia on one of the islands. We're right on the border with Zambia there. The rooms are stunning. We've done the bathrooms accented in a Great Zimbabwe type feel. And Great Zimbabwe are these old ruins found in the center of Zimbabwe, which date way back to sort of the Iron Age or before that. And it was an ancient civilization which was incredibly developed, and nobody really knows what happened to them, but they left these magnificent ruins in the middle of Zimbabwe. And so our bathrooms are a tribute to the Great Zimbabwe ruins in each room. Private plunge pools in each room, looking out across onto the lower Zambezi River. That's the kind of view that you get from each room at Tembo Plains. In every one of our reserve camps, it's important to highlight that we offer our guests a camera kit. You get a full Canon camera with a beautiful zoom lens and a wide angle lens and a pair of binoculars for you to use. So you don't need to bring all that heavy equipment if you choose not to. At the end of your stay, we then download the flash drives, download the SD cards onto a flash drive for you so that you can take all your memories back home with you. We offer that at all the reserve level camps, but not at the explorer level camps. We have kids programs at all our camps, and this is lovely. So we welcome kids from 6 and up at our camps. A lot of other safari camps have a minimum age of 12. We say 6, and we love having our kids in the camps where they can do kids activities. Just to give you an example of some of the things we do Maasai beading with them, animal tracking. We do school for a day. So if your kids are skipping out on school while they come out to safari, we'll be sure to give them a little bit of African school lessons. We do horse riding for kids that are older, cooking experiences, and even mini spa treatments for those little kids that want to be pampered. And Tembo Plains, I love it because they have some of the best guides in Africa. There's a lot of focus on walking as well as the game drives, and a lot of focus on the river itself. So being able to go and see elephants from a canoe like that is just absolutely spectacular. Wonderful tiger fishing on the river, which is one of the most adrenaline-filled sports you can do. Tiger fish have these very sharp pointed teeth and they get huge and they're very acrobatic when they fight. So people love getting their hands on those. And then our last camp that we run and that we market and do the sales for is called Impala Jenna in Victoria Falls National Park. And that works very well with Tembo Plains. You can go and see the magnificent falls. This is situated on the upper Zambezi River, Mana Pools and Tembo Plains being on the lower Zambezi River. This is a beautiful camp, very beachy with a lot of beach sand, hammocks, and absolutely stunningly appointed rooms with a bath outside under the stars and beautiful activities that you can do on the river. And I think that is just me in a nutshell. It's Great Plains in a nutshell. It's what we do. And obviously we have a lot more camps than I've just showed you, but I'd like to just give you a taste for the difference between the reserve and the explorer mainly, but also the different countries in which we operate.
James,
I'd like
I
to
love
just
it.
finish. Yeah, and I'd like to just finish off by saying that, you know, Africa is not a destination that you can book on Expedia or booking.com. And those of you that want to try that, go ahead, but I can promise you it's going to end in misery. And there's nothing like working through a trusted travel agent, somebody that knows Africa as well as Ralph does. And he runs an incredible organization, and you're in very safe hands with Ralph. So thanks very much for inviting me on, Ralph. I really appreciate it.
James, thank you. I appreciate our partnership very much. And I love everything about Great Plains, and you're such a great friend. So thanks for showing my clients what it's all about.
You're most welcome, Ralph. And I'll see you in Dallas soon, hopefully.
Okay, take care. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.